To pick my favourite places that I've visited during those years is a difficult choice. Places that really stand out for me are where my visits were different compared to the usual experiences you get at the popular tourist attractions around Australia. On the two occasions I visited Cockabiddy Cave under the Nullarbor Plain, it left me with a feeling that I knew at the time that it was not only dangerous but a unique experience. I left the air highway and followed an unmarked track. I had been told that all tracks lead to the cave, so I couldn't go wrong. It wasn't long before the track split up and went in different directions. The thought of being lost in this featureless landscape started to creep into my mind. I needn't have worried because all the tracks did lead to the cave. On my first visit, I met up with two starling trappers. Their seemingly impossible job was to stop the starlings migrating into Western Australia. They do this by means of trapping. The Western Australian government found this method of control very effective. A few years later, I returned and followed the track leading to the cave entrance. The cave is 100 metres below the surface of the Nullarbor and is part of a huge network of subterranean limestone caves. I descended a ladder that was in better condition compared to the first time I was here. On that occasion, the ladder had most of its rungs missing. As I ventured deeper, the feeling of excitement that cave explorers must experience struck me. I went as deep as I possibly could until a pool of water stopped me going any further. Then a thought crossed my mind. If anything happened to me down beneath the Nullarbor, no one would ever know that I was there. The trip back to the surface was made very carefully. In 1987, I spent a couple of weeks travelling the dirt tracks of the Gulf of Carpentaria and came away with memories that are still fresh in my mind years after that trip finished. The Golflander leaves Normanton for Croydon, a distance of 159 kilometres to the east. We stopped a couple of times during the journey, once to film as the vehicle crossed a small bridge. I also got a chance to take control of the train as the driver explained all the instruments. It took close to 5 hours to reach our destination. During the journey, I managed to make myself comfortable in different parts of the train. The train stays overnight in Croydon and heads back the next day. Everybody else chose to stay at the local pub. I couldn't afford the accommodation, so I looked for somewhere else to stay. In the end, I found the local caravan park, where I was the sole occupant and was kept awake for most of the night by the town's generator. Escott Station is a working cattle property close to Burketown. I spent 5 enjoyable days exploring the area. I met up with a helicopter pilot who invited me to take a flight with him before he started work. My video camera had a black and white viewfinder, but this flight was so exciting I had both eyes open and experienced the 15 minutes we were in the air in both colour and shades of grey. While on the flight, we followed the course of the river less than a metre above the water. I was lucky to get this flight because the pilot had only just recently been contracted to muster the station's cattle. The first 50 kilometres of the track into Lawn Hill National Park was in excellent condition, but the following 40 kilometres was really hard going. The last 10 kilometres was so bad, I'm sure it should have been classed as a four-wheel drive only. The area has an Aboriginal history dating back 17,000 years. Compared to the countryside outside the park, Lawn Hill really is an oasis. I found the best views of the park was from a canoe and paddled the three gorges that cut through the countryside.
This is the life.
The time spent on the water was most enjoyable.